Howdy, how you do, cousins? I'm Rusty. I'm a reseller. I buy and sell things for a living, if you can believe it. A lot of it I sell online. Some of the stuff I sell here locally. We're going to talk about a bunch of different stuff here today. I'm excited about it. What are some of the categories? Well, we're going to talk about comic books. We're going to talk about jewelry, both costume and fine jewelry. We're going to talk about buttons. Buttons? Oh, Rusty, no one cares about buttons. Well, sometimes people do, and they spend good money for them. But I'm going to teach you about a few of those things and several others as well. Won't you join me, cousin? Let's have a good one today, shall we? Folks, what you're looking at here are several small lots of antique and vintage buttons. Now, a lot of people are saying to themselves right now, I don't care about buttons. Buttons are boring. Who cares about buttons? Well, some people don't, that's true, but other people do. What I did was I bought a very large jar of buttons, and I have sorted most of them out here. Others that were cheaper and obviously newer, I have bundled up in a bundle to sell for about, $20. I paid $25 for the jar of all of these, and I wanted to talk about them because there's a variety of different kinds in here, and you may or may not realize that certain ones can have decent value, definitely more than others. So let's get right into it. Well, where should I start? Let's start right here. So this is a little lot of kind of medium-sized buttons. A lot of these are vintage. You can see that they have, they're made out of different types of plastics. They are different colors. You've got some that are, made to look like, a star with kind of like a carving around that. Here's another one, a lighter blue with this kind of motif on it. Others are more simple, round, or they've got this kind of like almost like an eye shape if you're facing it this way. I've gone through and I've tested all of these. Sometimes they can be made of a certain type of plastic that's really old called Bakelite. There are other types of plastics that people also collect, like lucite. Here's another one that's kind of carved interestingly. None of these are made of Bakelite. I have already tested them, and I'll show you that in a moment. But someone who likes, there's a variety of reasons why people will buy buttons. Sometimes they'll use them to fix old clothing, right? Other times they'll, like if they're making maybe newer clothing that's in an older style, they will use an older, actual, like an authentic old button on it. Other times, people want these just because they collect them like anything else. Sometimes they'll do different crafts or things with them. And you believe it or not, like a little lot like this, I could probably get $10 to $15 for just these buttons right here. And again, I paid $25 for everything I'm going to show you. Moving on, we got some of these larger ones. Again, different types of shapes. We've got some large ones, brown. Some of these that are like almost like an amber kind of color. They are not made out of amber. They're just a plastic. But again, these are kind of in the same kind of the browns and black colors. None of these are Bakelite. The reason I mention Bakelite is because those can sell for a lot more than ones like this a lot of times. So moving over here, this lot right here of small buttons, browns, blacks, and greens, these are all small and they're all made out of this type of plastic I'm talking about, Bakelite. As well as these right here. You can see I've got three of the same kind, this reddish color. They're dirty. I probably won't clean them off, though. If that's something that the buyer wants to do, they can do it on their own. Sometimes they like them exactly the way that they are. And sometimes you'll see ones like this carved sort of differently that are made of Bakelite. Again, these are not, but they're interesting because of their shape. They're made of this triangular shape here. Moving over, we've got a variety of kind of different size ones. This is its own little lot that I'll sell. This looks like kind of like flowers with leaves underneath. And then we've even got some of these little buttons like this. You can have as a certain type of like the way that the thread can connect. This is supposed to look like pearl, but it is not pearl. It's a plastic. Somebody will be interested in that kind of thing. And then we got some of these little round ones that are greenish and brown. They got a little hole in there. Someone's going to be interested in that, I have no doubt. Here we have a couple of other little lots here. One is just these small, they're pink. As you can see, pink and white. They got 2 holes in there, pink on the bottom. And again, this style, some people really like this style of button. They were made for a period of time like that. There's also this little lot that I'm going to put up. These are all metal buttons, okay? Various types of metal are used here. Some of them are more like kind of like aluminum type. Others have brass in them. Some of these are made to look kind of like a naval thing. You got this kind of like a rope and a weight there that would come down off of a boat. This one also has kind of an old insignia here. I don't know what this is because I haven't researched it yet. Like a little lion on there on a crest. And then others, this one says military equipment, military. I don't know how old this one is, but it might be made to just sort of look like old military ones. It maybe actually is an old military one. But people collect sometimes people search just for like metal buttons because they don't want to mess with the other kinds. This has got a large eye hook on the back of that that someone could... it differentiates it from some of these others that don't have that, right? So there's a variety of different kinds. People who collect certain styles, certain kinds will know the certain words that they search for. So you want to do your research to make sure you put the right stuff in the right title. These 2 lots are a little bit different because they are not made out of a man-made material, but rather they're made out of bone. And you can see I have these split up in 2 different lots. This lot here, well, with the exception of this little booger who got in there, all of these on this left side here all have 4 holes, right? Different sizes. And then these over here have 2 holes, as you can see. But you can see this kind of like lighter kind of yellowish, kind of faded color there, and these striations in there is sort of the dead giveaway that these are made of bone. These could be made from cow bone, but most likely a lot of these oftentimes are made out of bovine bone, so that would be pigs. And they're carved out. Some of the earliest antique buttons are going to be made out of materials that are found just naturally from the earth, either from animals or from things from the ocean. So in this case, we have bone. And other ones I'm going to show you in a moment will be made out of shell or mother of pearl as well. And if you were, this is the kind of thing that would have come on, say, like underwear or maybe shirts back in the day. The same thing is true of some of these things are made out of pearl or china, like old synthetic glass, or stuff that like dinnerware would have been made out of, like porcelain and stuff like that. If you were, if you were just a middle-class person or a low-class person, this is the kind of thing you'd have. But then other people who had more money might have outfits that had silver in the buttons or maybe even gold. It's not uncommon to find those things out there. I say it's not uncommon. It is uncommon to find it today, but at the time, you would see people walking around with this type of stuff on their clothing. This is a great example of a bunch of buttons that are made of what they would call china buttons, or these things are made out of porcelain or they're made out of glass. And you can see some of these, again, have 2 holes like this, and this looks very much like ones that are made out of bone, but it isn't made out of bone. It's made out of this kind of, they're a little bit heavier. They just have a different feel in your hand, and they're a little bit glossy a lot of times, as you can see. You can kind of see that with the light sort of shimmering on that a little bit. There are people who collect just the specific type of button. And everything I've shown you, all of these little lots here that I've put that I'm going to sell in these little baggies, I'll probably put up at auction for $10 each to start with. And then if they don't sell, I'll raise the price slightly and sell them as buy it nows. But see, I've got these separated out. These are all the ones that are made of china or porcelain, that kind of thing. And then behind that here, we have the ones that I alluded to before. All of these, folks, are carved directly from shells from the ocean, or what they call mother of pearl. And you got this, here's a good example, this one and this one. And you can see how they have that kind of iridescent look to them when you move them around. And you can see on the back of it, it's quite rough and coarse and crude. It's because this is a natural material, folks. They weren't smooth. Some of them can be quite thin, as you can see here, right? But then other ones can be even more thick, a little bit more dense, like this one. Try to zoom in here. You can see this has been carved out. If I were to clean these up, they would all kind of shimmer a little bit more than they do here. You can see this one also. This is just different types, like they were made out of the materials that were found items, and then they would carve them and they use them for buttons, things that were functional for people's clothing. Moving over here, I've got some really cool, I've kind of separated out so you can see just the different styles and designs. Sometimes they're more of a dark color like this, but you can still see that kind of those different purples and greens in there that shine. This one's carved up nicely as well. Again, really coarse and rough on the back, because you wouldn't see that part, right? This is the part that you're seeing. So they would tie it on, and this is the part that would face you. Over here, we've got various other sizes. I'll try to zoom in, and you'll see we've got this little carved lines. These couple are carved with like circles around. These have sort of those little canoe-looking carved portions in here. And we've got even others. Look, this one, it's got these little lines. It's all carved up a certain way. I don't have, you know, all of the mates of all of these, but then some of these other smaller ones, look at all the different types. You've got single hole ones that are thicker and more rounded right there. And then you've got these here that's a deep cut down in there, 4. This is more of kind of like an etched around the edge, 2 holes. Really cool looking stuff here, folks. It's just really neat to see what people were wearing back in the day. These are definitely antique. This one you can see has just a little motif carved on one side. I'll likely take a bunch of these and I'll sell these in a lot by themselves. But as I was going through, I found some other really cool things I want to show you. Right here, these aren't actually buttons, folks. These look more like, to me, you know, they might be buttons, but they look a little bit more like, to me, like cufflinks. They're connected here so that they're kept together. But these are mother of pearl as well. And you can see that shine. They got that divot in there. They're quite thick. They're kind of not uniform in shape. And then over here, we got some other really cool looking things. Some more carved, like this is like kind of dark on the back, but then lighter on the front. And then these, again, are sort of that medium gray color, but they definitely have that shimmer. And then this right here, you can see is made out of shell. And it's got that beautiful color, but then on the back, they have actually added in this metal ring here to connect that. And then I found this. This is really cool. This is not even a button. It's just a bead, and it's made of porcelain. In fact, the middle part there is clogged up. I would have to open that up if I wanted to. I could clean this up. I'm trying to decide if I want to do that or not. Some people like them in the state that they're in. And then finally, folks, down here, you've got some much larger pieces, and these are beautiful. I'll probably sell some of these individually. The colors aren't coming through as well as I'd like, but again, on the back, you can see so that old, you know, kind of that coating, and then this little attached ring in the back. I love this one. It's quite large, really good colors, really cool, you know, carving there. Black on the back, kind of. They've got that coating on the back, but this is the real deal, folks. These are very old buttons, and this one you can see has kind of the design here where you can see the hole through the middle like that. That doesn't puff out too much, and then this has this little, I don't know what you call that little part that you push through there to hold it in place, but a variety of different kinds. And also found a couple surprises along the way. Looky here, I found this in here. Now clearly this is not a cufflink, this is not a button. What is this? Well, this is, you know, this could be a belt buckle. It kind of looks like it could be a belt buckle. This could be a little part where you could tie like a scarf or put a handkerchief through it. Different people used some of these things for multiple purposes, but I love the design on it. It's a very Art Deco kind of looking design. It's like a really dark brown to a black color. And this one actually is made of Bakelite. And since we're talking about Bakelite again, let me show you how I test for it really quick. I'll show you one that is not, and why I can tell, and then show you this one specifically and how I know that it is. For my demonstration today, I'm going to use something called semi-chrome polish. You can buy this on Amazon. You can probably even find it on eBay or maybe at some stores in your area. But this is what I use to test for Bakelite. I'm going to use a piece of paper towel. I like to use cotton, like Q-tips a lot of times. We got some on the other side of the warehouse. I just don't want to walk over there. So I'm going to use this right now. I'm going to show you first one that is not Bakelite, and then I'm going to show you one that is and how to tell the difference. The difference is in the color that comes out when you rub some of this polish on these. All right, folks, you can see here that I've got some polish on this, and it is a pink color, okay? What you're wanting, if it's Bakelite, it's going to be a yellowish or orangish color. If it's not Bakelite, it'll stay pink or it'll turn brown or even a bright red color, but those are not Bakelite. So what you do is you just take it, you gently apply it on here, and then you rub it. Now I've got it in my hand here. I'm going to take this. I'm just going to rubbing this on there. Now, if this was Bakelite, it should turn like a nice yellow or orange color. Anything yet? Nope, not so much. Not yet. Rub. Not really. It's kind of staying that same pink color. So, you know, it's kind of rubbing. I get a little bit of color there, but that's just kind of because this is dirty, you know. And so it actually make sense so you don't get like a false positive, especially if you're rubbing on, say, like a, I don't know, a piece of jewelry, a costume jewelry or a button or something that's a yellow or orange already. You would maybe want to clean it first before you do this. But this is clearly not Bakelite. All right, now I have this little buckle here. I've reapplied some polish. And then we're going to come up on here and I'm going to do it right on the top in the middle bar so you can see. So I'm going to kind of rub. Let's see if we see anything yet. Ooh, we're starting to see a little bit of yellowish. Rub. Now, do you see that? Do you see how that's turning like a yellowish orangish color? Try to get it on the part that doesn't have it on there. Now, are you seeing that? See that kind of yellowish color? Let me move it over here to this side. I've got quite a bit on here. These things, yeah, do you see that yellow? See that yellowish? These pieces, yeah, see how bright that yellow is? These pieces that have ammonia in them, as a matter of fact. In fact, if you were to just rub your hands on these really hard to kind of heat them up and then sniff it, it would smell like ammonia to you. And so this yellowish color is very different than the pink. Do you see that? So stuff that stays pink, not Bakelite. Stuff that turns yellow or orange is the stuff you're wanting, right like that. I'm not always pulling out high-end stuff to show you guys because I want to be real and tell you that I'm not finding like huge gold bracelets like all the time. In fact, that's very, very rare. Most of the time, what we make the bulk of our money off of, folks, is ordinary. I would say ordinary, but more like costume pieces that are not worth a whole lot. We just happen to find them for cheaper than what we can sell them for. And these are great examples of things that we found this week. I just wanted to show you. This, just an ordinary looking costume necklace, but if you look up here at the clasp, you'll see that it says Monet on it. Monet, Napier, Coro, Weiss. There's so many, Trifari. There's so many different brands. Juliana, Haskell, and just there's so many that you can find that carry really good value. And we paid $2 to $3 a piece for these. It'll be really easy to make our money back. Here's one with a nice pendant on it. Pink stone with a little, you know, what look like diamonds. They aren't. They're rhinestone. Halo on it. Same thing. You look up over here at the clasp, and you'll see that it says Avon. It's upside down, but it says Avon. So Avon, another brand that's really nice. And then this one right here I want to show you. Same kind of colors. Pink in the middle. this rhinestone, this little halo of clear stones around it. On the back, it says SAL. A quick search will tell you that these are Swarovski crystals around here in this big, heavy gold chain. When I see stuff like this, my heart starts racing a little bit because, you know, 99 times out of 100, maybe even more than that, this is just going to be a basic piece of costume jewelry. But every once in a while, you'll come across something like this. The sheer weight of this, folks, if this was made of gold, would be worth thousands of dollars. And so you always want to do your due diligence. You want to check all around the clasp underneath of these pendant type things. And depending on the price, sometimes it makes sense to take a risk and get something if you know you could make a couple bucks off of it at least, to go back and test it to see if it's made out of real gold. But something like this, these are selling for $40, $50 and up. Pay $3 for it. You know, Monet, a necklace like this, probably only $10 to $15. Same thing with this Monet necklace, but you know, I'm doubling or tripling my money pretty easily. So this is the real life of a reseller. It's stuff like this, nothing to get all excited about, but if you do enough volume and you go out regularly enough, not only do you find this stuff regularly enough to sell and make money, but you also learn a whole lot. Just putting your hands on stuff, you learn a bunch. I've held thousands upon thousands of pieces of jewelry since I've been doing this, and it has really helped me in learning what to look for. Here's another really cool set that came into the warehouse here recently. We've got a beautiful little pocket watch here, as you can see, with this really nice, kind of thin because it has worn down over time, but this scroll work in this design on the outside of the case. It's quite beautiful. You can see it's that very bright gold color. Opening up the front, you'll see that this is an Elgin brand clock. It's got Roman numerals. It's got the chronograph here at the bottom. The case has a number, so you can look that up and tell generally the time period. If I flip it over, though, on this side, you're going to see a couple of pieces of information. First of all, on the inside of the case, you always want to look at this to determine what the metal content is and what it is we're looking at. In this case, it says Fays, F-A-H-Y-S, Montauk #1. Okay, so it doesn't say 14K or 18K. Of course, it doesn't mean it doesn't have gold content in it, but in this case, this is what they would call gold filled. It has a very small layer of solid gold on the outside of it, but it is not a solid gold all the way through pocket watch. But that's the gold color comes from the fact that it does have gold actually on the outside of it. And you also want to look at the movement in here. A lot of times you're going to get good information. Here's a serial number at the top that will tell you what type of a movement it is if you look it up. Down here again, we're verifying that this, yes, is indeed an Elgin pocket watch. Sometimes, every once in a while, you'll see something on the face over here, but then the movement will not match up with that. That's kind of bizarre. But a lot of times also it'll tell you the number of jewels in here. This one does not. But Elgin is a very old, very well-known, very highly sort of like accepted and known and collected watch brand. So that's nice. This one is not currently working, which is a strike against it, but somebody who knows how to work on these clocks can fix it. The crystal, the glass over this here is intact, though it's a little bit worn, but no heavy scratches. And the porcelain in here, though it has a very tiny crack at the very top of it, you can barely see it. Overall, the face is in pretty decent condition. Now, the coolest thing about this is actually this pocket watch chain that comes with it. It's a pretty significant weight. Okay, got this really cool catch up here, this clasp. You got this little bar here that would have helped secure it into a vest or a pocket. And then at the end here, you've got this little contraption. Look at how this is all designed. This opens and closes. You could put someone's picture in here. It's really pretty. You close it up. Again, it has really a nice design, square. And again, all of this, folks, is gold filled. If you look up here at the very top of this kind of clasp, you'll see the name Simmons. Simmons is a pretty common pocket watch brand from the late 1800s, I'd say, maybe before that, but definitely, you know, the early 1900s, teens, and into the 20s. This is going to be what they call a gold-filled pocket watch chain as well. And so these together, I don't know yet if I'm going to sell them together or sell them as, you know, a group here, because there are people who want just pocket watches. They don't need a chain, and vice versa. People collect just chains. Sometimes they have a watch and they need a chain for it, and they think, oh, I like the look of this. This is a little bit unique, how this thing holds together. And so, anyways, really like that, but always make sure you look inside the case and just examine the condition. Is the face cracked at all? Is the glass cracked at all? Does it operate? All of those things will help you in determining the actual value of what you've got. Very excited to get this piece in. Folks, I bought this piece specifically for the look of it to go with another set of some things that we've got. I have a string of a necklace with coral, sort of this salmon-colored coral, a beaded necklace. I've got these earrings that you may or may not have seen in one of our last videos. These earrings, I've still got these little catches on the ends on here just to keep it from poking through the bag, but they don't go with it. This is a 14-karat gold post. There would be a post that goes into that. It's glued on, but these large pieces of antique, what they call salmon color or angel skin coral earrings. These are beautiful. I've got them right up in the eBay store right now for somewhere around $850, and I've had multiple watchers on these. So that's really awesome. If you didn't know that coral holds good value, you need to look into it. This particular ring came in, and I want to show you something. I'm going to be very careful with it, but I'm going to show you why. This ring is also 14 karat gold. It's fairly thin band. Why does it look so dark at the top? Well, it's actually got black enamel paint on that. And if I flip it over here, you're going to see it's a really cool design on the bottom of it there. Really awesome antique ring. On the inside, it's marked 585, which is a European stamp for 14 karat gold. But watch this here. Watch this. Boop. Oh, no. Now, if you've been watching this show long enough, you'll know that I am inclined to drop things from time to time, but this was on purpose. I knew that thing was not attached. We got this in, and I pulled it out and started examining it, and that little stinker just fell right out of there. Now, I don't know if you can tell by me showing you this, but at the very center of that ring is a very small metal post that's coming up, okay? And inside of there is glue. And this piece of coral that was inside of there is very old. If you roll it over, there's a hole in it. Why? Because the post in there actually goes up into that a little bit to help secure it when you put the glue in there. Now, it's a beautiful ring. I'm still very happy to have it. I'm going to have to do a little bit of work now to glue this puppy back in there, unfortunately. But what I'm trying to do here is build a set of items that look very, very similar. You see that the color of this ring, the coral in this ring, and the color of these earrings is pretty much spot on. And I've ordered a necklace, an antique necklace that's also going to go with this. I'm looking for a brooch that will have this similar style, just that kind of rounded coral, okay, to go with the necklace, the earrings, and this ring. And then I'm going to sell this for hopefully a lot more because I'm adding this together and someone's going to want all of these pieces together. We're really excited about it. I've got to get some glue to glue back in there, make sure that it's nice and secured. But we don't come across rings that look like this all that often. We're pretty excited about it. We'll let you know when we get everything together. We'll make a video and show you what it's going to look like before we put the whole set on sale. That is, of course, if these lookers don't sell first. I don't have to tell you that sports cards, trading cards, things like comic books carry value, but we got this nice little lot in I was excited about. We got a bunch of, this is basically entirely Venom. Well, I say it entirely. We got a little Superman in there hiding out, but this is basically Venom and Spider-Man. Lots of Spider-Man, and Spider-Man is it's a personal favorite. It's also one of the more like collected of the superheroes when it comes to comic books. Obviously Superman's in there and some of these others. There's nothing in here that's like horribly valuable, you know what I'm saying here. These are just some of these, a lot of these are just from the a lot of these from the 80s. You know, I don't think I have any 70s in here. But anyhow, these are going to go well. I don't know if I'm going to sell these individually or if I'm going to throw these up in lots. But this stuff sells very easily, very regularly. I may not get, you know, top dollar for this stuff, but they're all in pretty darn good condition. They were already had boards on the back of them. They already had the plastic sleeves. And so any of you out there who collect are going to say, hey, get them off of each other. Yeah, again, these are not terribly valuable ones. We're going to get these up in the store soon. But if you come across things like this from the, you know, the 1980s, some from the 90s are good too, as well as the 2000s, but 80s, 70s and earlier, folks, you can get some really, really good money if you get some really rare or valuable comic books, not just Spider-Man, but others as well. Of course, it depends on the price, but make sure you're ready with your phone to do some quick research. You can use Google Lens, or you can just look on eBay. Comic books sell really well, and if you don't want to sell them online, I'm sure there's probably a place nearby in your town or nearby that, like a card shop or a place that would buy these as well. You won't get as good of a deal on them selling them locally into a store oftentimes, but you might even get them in on trade. If there's something at that store you like, then maybe you could trade for something else that you would rather sell. Thanks for sticking around, folks. Join us very soon. Early this next week, we're going to be talking about artwork. I'm going to be going through some really nice pieces of art. I'm going to talk to you about how I evaluate them, how you can tell the difference between something that is an authentic painting versus something that is a print, or something that is made to look like it actually has brush strokes on it but doesn't. Figuring out how to figure out if there's a signature, how to inspect the backs, how to assess the value of frames, and all of that. It's coming soon, folks. We'll catch you real quick. Rusty hair.